Hello, Crest. Thank you for joining me today for our next virtual Brain Boosters episode. Once again, my name is Jillian Perry, and I am the Resident Services Coordinator for the Highline Overlook neighborhood. Resident Services is a team of employees available to you, residents of Crest Independent Living. As you navigate both the joy-filled and the hard times, we believe in being approachable and responsive to your well-being. Every interaction we share, you can expect a warm reception, trusting that what matters to you matters to us. We partner with you to provide comprehensive information about supportive resources tailored to your personal circumstances so that you can make informed decisions. Because when we do, you have the opportunity to be heard and cared for, helping you live your best life. Last month, we focused on the parts and the function of the brain and talked a little bit about how the last several months of COVID precautions may have affected our brains and some tips and tricks for improving our brain's health. If you did not get a chance to watch the first episode of Brain Boosters, or you would like a refresher on the basics of brain health, feel welcome to watch it anytime in MyErickson within the Resident Resources icon under the Resident Services heading. There, you'll find each month's video along with any supplemental materials such as follow-along guides and word puzzles, and those will coincide with each Brain Boosters video. I invite you to reach out to Resident Services if you have any questions about Brain Boosters or any other support groups here at Crest. Today, we will be using some of those concepts and topics that we discussed last month to discuss another topic called resilience. In short, resilience is the ability to adapt, accommodate, and change in response to situations that are occurring around us. This will tie into a deeper understanding of stress, learning how to or bettering our ability to cope in effective ways, and learning how we can all become more resilient. I really hope you all enjoy this topic. As I mentioned, today we will be focusing on the concept of resilience. Resilience is so important to all of us because we, as humans, like normalcy, routines, and to generally expect what's coming throughout our days. Resilience is rebounding from difficult challenges in our lives, not avoiding those challenges. Resilience is facing the challenges head on and finding ways which are likely unique to you to stand tall and to keep going. In this pandemic, our definitions of normal are redefined each and every day, which challenge us to look at what's happening around us and to try to figure out how we can be comfortable, or as comfortable as we can be, with what each day brings. We are all going through different levels of grief and loss right now, as there is an extreme loss of normalcy. Resilience is associated with certain personality traits, as resilient individuals are more likely to experience positive emotions such as happiness, pleasure, joy, and contentment, and they're less likely to experience negative emotions such as anxiety, depression, sadness, moodiness, and jealousy, among others. Resilient individuals are open to new experiences, they embrace challenges, and they are socially connected and integrated. Resilient individuals are careful about where they focus their attention. They have a habit of realistically appraising situations and typically focus on the things that they can change and somehow accept the things that they cannot. This pandemic has challenged all of our resilience, but I have good news for you. Resilience is a learnable and vital skill for all of us. It is a process, it is dynamic, it is growth, and it is a capability of all of us. Adversity and suffering are a part of every human's experience and existence. But we can all become more resilient, which can serve us by acting as a protective barrier, not only to negative emotions and chronic stress, but it can even protect our physical health and, importantly, our brain's health. Before we get into how we can become more resilient individuals, I want to talk more about stress, going over a few things that we went over last month. We are wired for negative emotions to stick to us and for positive emotions and experiences to sort of bounce right off, which has proven beneficial from an evolutionary perspective. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're a cave person way back when, and there's a tiger standing to your right, and then there's a beautiful rainbow to your left. It pays for you to notice the tiger, right? But the problem there is that we're living in a time where we're bombarded with threats all day long, and our poor brains are treating each one of those threats as though they were a tiger. Our threat focus, or our stress response, is permanently dialed up. We are really good at noticing threats and weaknesses and are hardwired for the negative. Stress refers to experiences that cause feelings of anxiety and frustration because they threaten our security or push us beyond our ability to successfully cope. Besides everyday time pressures and daily hassles, stressors have been described in relation to economic insecurity, poor health, and interpersonal conflict. Much less frequently are situations such as the one that we find ourselves in right now, which can include a global pandemic, violence, and natural disasters. In contrast to daily stressors, these stressors are acute and yet also usually lead to chronic stress and may cause post-traumatic stress disorder in the aftermath of the stressful event. Being stressed out may cause anxious and/or depressed moods, a loss of sleep, ingestion of comfort foods and excess calories, smoking or drinking alcohol excessively, and can cause people to neglect social activities or regular physical activity. Our brains are the organ that decides which experiences are stressful and determines our behavioral and physiological responses, which can either be health promoting or health damaging. The brain is the biological organ that changes under chronic and acute stress, and it directs many systems of the body that are involved in short and long-term consequences or the daily experience of living. Our bodies respond to almost any event or challenge by releasing chemical mediators and hormones that then cause physiological responses, such as increased heart rate and blood pressure, which helps us cope with each situation. However, chronic elevation of these same mediators produce wear and tear on our cardiovascular systems, which over time can result in disorders such as heart attacks and strokes. Last month, we talked about allostatic load, which is the wear and tear that results from either too much stress or inefficient management of allostasis, which is the process in which the body responds to daily events and maintains homeostasis. Now, it is important to remember that stress isn't always bad, like in the example with the tiger and the rainbow. The ambiguity of the word stress can be reduced by classifying the types of stress. There's good stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. Good stress is a term used in popular language to refer to the experience of rising to a challenge, taking a risk, and feeling rewarded by an often positive outcome. Healthy self-esteem and good impulse control and decision-making capability are important for good stress. Even if the outcomes of the challenges or risks end in adverse outcomes, they can function as growth experiences for people with positive adaptive characteristics. Tolerable stress is when negative events occur, but the individual is able to cope, often with the aid of friends, family, and other individuals who provide support. This could include counseling appointments with our medical center social worker or talking to someone from the resident services team. Toxic stress is when negative events occur and the individual has limited support and may not have good impulse control, judgment, or adequate self-esteem. This inability to cope is likely to have adverse effects on our behavior and physiology, resulting in a higher degree of allostatic load. In the research field of resilience, there's a lot of debate about exactly what adversity or risk is comprised of. Risk is recognized as a subjective experience, as what is considered to be a risk for some people in certain situations may be harmless for others and could even be an asset to particular individuals. In older adulthood, risks or adversity may include socioeconomic disadvantage, elder abuse, bereavement, health challenges including dementia, depression, physical ailments, and/or changing social roles. Resilience researchers are also exploring how people cope with negative life events and how individuals work through the more ordinary upheavals associated with normal life transitions, not just adversity. They have classified the factors that play into an individual's resilience level as protective factors or assets and vulnerabilities. Protective factors or assets are generally defined as factors that can assist an individual to avoid or mitigate the negative effects of a risk, such as a strong internal locus of control or a supportive social network. Internal locus of control, by the way, is the degree to which people believe they have control over the outcome of events in their life, which is seen as a strength in regards to resilience. As for vulnerabilities, those are factors that increase an individual's susceptibility to the negative impacts associated with risks, such as social isolation or cognitive impairment. We all have vulnerabilities, and even still, it's completely possible for us to become more resilient individuals. Stressors can hijack our brains. When stressors present themselves in our lives, whether that's a conflict with a friend, family member, or an injury or illness, generally speaking, suppression is not an effective way to cope. To demonstrate this, I want you to think about anything you want, anything at all, but not a white bear. Keep thinking, anything you want, but again, not a white bear. So how did that go for you? Did trying to suppress the image work? Well, a white bear is likely not a stressful image to you, but it highlights the point that when you try not to think about something, it brings our attention more to that very thing. So, if suppression isn't a good strategy, then how can we become more resilient? Remember, resilient people don't diminish the negative, but they have also worked out a way of tuning into the good. The first strategy to become more resilient is benefit finding, which is the intentional act of trying to find things to be grateful for. Being able to switch your attention and focus has been shown to be a really powerful strategy. In one study in 2005, researchers asked people to think about 3 good things that happened to them each day over a 6-month period. What they found was those people showed higher levels of gratitude and happiness and less depression than those who did not participate in the study. When you're going through loss and grief, you might need a reminder to be grateful. Find the language that works for you, but whatever you do, find an intentional, deliberate, and ongoing effort to tune into what is good in your life. Just like in the study, I challenge you to think of 3 things each day that you have to be grateful for. I'll start right now. So I'm grateful for my loved ones, the opportunity to work at Crest and to share this with you. And I'm grateful for the beautiful weather outside. So again, I ask you, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? Next, when your stress levels begin to elevate and you begin to experience negative thoughts and emotions, I encourage you to ask yourself if what you're doing, the way you're thinking, and the way you're acting is helping or harming you. This puts you back into the driver's seat and gives you control over your own decision making. Resilient people often ask themselves if what they're doing is actually helping or harming them, and it's a really powerful tool. We all have moments in our life where our life path splits and our journey we thought we were going down veers off into a terrible direction. Resilience does not remove all of the pain, but thinking in this way can really help. Resilience shows that it is possible to live fully and grieve losses at the same time. Remember last month when I spoke about sleep and how not getting adequate amounts of sleep each night turns on hundreds of poor health traits? Well, that's referred to as epigenetics, which are events that regulate the expression of genetic information without altering your DNA. This causes your body to activate or repress certain traits to turn on. Even in adulthood, gene expression in the brain is continually changing with experiences. We have established that getting at least 7 hours of sleep each night helps, but what else? Physical activity is an effective antidepressant and protects against cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and dementia. Activities such as walking, dancing, gardening, and following along with our Crest fitness programs. Those are just a few of the ways that you can begin engaging in physical activity. It is important to note that slow and gradual changes to our behaviors are more likely to succeed and last. Exercise is such a great way to promote resilience as it can help you manage your emotions, improve cognition, and can help your body heal and recover. I want to add that if you miss a day of walking or being active, go easy on yourself. If you're self-critical, you're more likely to feel down and not go again. If you're kind to yourself and compassionate, you're more likely to rebound and go on a walk the following day. This is a simple way to promote resilience. So I'll say it again, be kind to yourself. Next, it is so important to stay connected to others during this time, even with social distancing precautions in place. This pandemic is a breeding ground for anxiety, fear, depression, and mental illness. And we have the responsibility as family members, friends, neighbors, and as a community and society to check in on one another. It is important that we stay connected with those who are important to us. Social integration and support are known to be protective against allostatic load and dementia. There is much significance in social connections, and the benefits can be reaped even by connecting with those who you don't already know. For example, now that our Crest restaurants are opening up again, smiling at someone else while walking to the restaurants can have a major impact and significance on them as well as on yourself, as it may be the first smile that you've given in a while and the first one that they've received in a while. Finally, engaging in something meaningful can help you move past a particularly challenging time. It is important to note that doing something for the joy, as opposed to doing something for the reduction of stress, allows our attention to focus more on the meaningful pursuit. The more your intention is on the meaning, the less likely it's focusing on the stressor, such as the white bear that I mentioned earlier. Finding a sense of meaning and purpose has also been shown to benefit our overall health and cognition, which is why I would like to dedicate the next video to finding meaning and purpose in our lives. In conclusion, resilience is our ability to adapt, accommodate, and change to the situations around us, such as the one that we're all going through right now. Resilience is facing the challenges we're currently facing and those we'll continue to face throughout our lives. And not avoiding them, but standing tall and to keep on standing tall. We're having to revise our definition of normalcy every single day, but we need to find what works for each of us to be as comfortable as we can be with what each day brings. We should think about how we can bounce back strongly and positively, even in the midst of challenge. Once again, I challenge you to think of at least 3 things each day that you're grateful for. Thanks so much for watching this month's video. I'll have some helpful phone numbers at the end. And once again, next month, we're going to be talking about the importance of finding purpose, meaning, and significance in all of our lives. I hope to see you there.